stereos. I'm Tango, cause I switch the flow. Eyes a little low, cause I twist the jaw. Pockets on swell, cause I move the O's. My neck, my wrist, my ears is froze. Come get your bitch, she don't.
Oh, okay, that's enough. All right, good morning. All right, let's keep it PG-13, all right? All right, oh my gosh. Already starting. All right, so good morning. It's Friday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. This used to be my favorite month. It's the month of my birthday. But when I was a kid, McDonald's used to have this Shamrock Shake thing. And I was like, Mom, can I go? My mother did not really buy us McDonald's and stuff like that. She wasn't like a fast food person. So it was like pulling teeth trying to get her to buy me one of those Shamrock Shakes. But I was like, I want a Shamrock Shake. Because it's in the month of my birthday. So anyway, so happy St. Patrick's Day for those who celebrate it. And if you don't, well, hey, happy Friday. So I am on my way, and so today I wanted to talk about, what do I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about a couple of things. One thing I wanted to talk about was something that I mentioned yesterday and in the video that I made that is titled Soul Condition. I think it's Soul Condition and the Creator of All Events. I think that's the title of it. But I had mentioned something about natural love and divine love. And as I was making my point, I use it in a way to make my point, but there's much more to that that I probably should make known. So, and then it's gonna lead into something else. So as all of my videos start somewhere, end up somewhere else, right? So when I was mentioning divine love and natural love, there's another aspect to that that I didn't mention, and it's about our addictions. And so basically everything that I was saying, I could only lump into two categories, which was divine love and natural love. But there's another category that some of those things, like I mentioned yesterday about the whole suicide thing and how divine love and natural love operate. So I lumped something in the natural love path that really shouldn't be there. But since I didn't talk about the other one or mention the other one, I couldn't put it in its rightful category. So that's what I'm doing today. So there are basically three categories that we all reside in, we all live in. And one of them is So I should say this. There are three paths that are potentials for us to reside in. Yeah, that's better. So the first one is living in our addictions. And that's basically where that example that I had used yesterday about the person who would want to prevent another individual from committing suicide, that really isn't a divine love path. I mean, it's not really a natural love path. What it is a person living in their addiction. And that's where most of us reside. This is where most people reside, is in our addictions. And so what I mean by that is, I guess I'll use Christians as an example. Because whether or not you're a Christian, you know about Christianity because it's all over the world. So Christianity, or Christians, or those who belong to a church, are trying to reach God's love, right? That's the whole point of the religion, is to be one with God, to be one with God's love. That is the whole point of religions. Doesn't matter which one it is, whether it's Islam or whatever, you're trying to be one with God, one with the love of God, one with the love of the Creator. and that is divine love. But this is what we as human beings are trying to strive for, to be closer to God, right? And I know there's atheists out there, but there's reasons why people are atheists. I'm not going to go into that one. I think I talked about it before. But for those who are aware that there is a creator, for those who are aware that there is a divine love, a divine presence that is there, out there, and within us and all around, it's within all that is. So that's where we're all trying to go to. At some point, on some level, that's what we're trying to strive for. However, a lot of us live in our addictions, and because of the state of the planet, the energy, the frequency that the planet is vibrating at, we are really far off the loving path. We're more on the side of the unloving side of the spectrum, which is why we manipulate and do things to other people that are unloving, because our whole society, especially here in the States, the society here on this land is very unloving, and it's based on stripping people away, or stripping away the free will of others. We condemn others, we judge others. That's just the way of life for us, for the most part. If someone doesn't have something, then we judge them for why they don't have it, and if people have something, then we judge them for having it. So either way you look at it, we're judging somebody for something, and that's just the way of life. And so that is an unloving thing that we do. But what happens is we do a lot of, I will say, loving actions. Not that they're done out of love, but they're loving actions. And we do that in order to cover up what we're uncomfortable with. So I was talking to someone about this whole thing, mainly was about Jesus. And so what Jesus was teaching is not what the religions is teaching in totality. So there's some aspects of what Jesus was meaning through his teachings that the churches do have within it, but it's not in its entirety. And so it has taken something that was true and changed it into something that they could use to control. So when we're talking about things like Jesus and what he was teaching is called the way. That's what it was called. It wasn't called Christianity, it was called the way. And the reason why he called it the way is because it was the way to live life, a way to get closer to God, because that was the whole point of what religion was for. Initially, it was to, and I'm talking before Christianity, because Jesus was obviously a Jew, so he was Jewish, and that was his religion. But he moved away from that because he knew something wasn't right about it. And so in his transformation, in his learnings, in the teachings that he received, and how he understood things to be, he understood things through love. And so this is why he called it the way. That's what he was teaching, the way. It wasn't Christianity. That didn't come until 350 years later. So when we're talking about the natural love, here's the thing with natural love. If you're on a natural love path, then it is going to be one of the most painful times in your life. It's very painful, because that means that you're trying to live life the right way and do the right things, not because a religion is telling you to, not because anybody else is telling you to, but because you're trying to do what feels right, and that's coming from within you. You're using your moral compass that's within you. What is loving? That's what you're using. But in doing that, you're going to experience a lot of pain, because when you truly have love, you're coming from your soul, your heart, and so you're putting yourself into every action that you do that is loving. So when someone betrays you or does something to you that is opposite of that love that you're trying to exude, then it's going to hurt, because you're putting your all into it. And so when something comes and contradicts that, you're going to have pain. So if you're living in addiction, then you're oblivious to that love, that heart. You're not living from that heart center. So you're just doing things. Let's see. I'm trying to think of an example, so you can understand what I'm talking about. Example. Okay. So I work for or in the mental health field or arena, whatever. And so there are a lot of therapists and case managers and things like that. And so their goal, what they're trained to do, is help people alleviate their pain, right? Some of them try to help others understand what's going on. So in my observation of therapists or case managers doing what they do, basically this is what they look at a client and they say, okay, this is what you should be doing because this is what I'm seeing. And when they don't do that, the therapists and the case managers oftentimes get very angry, like very angry. And so that's not loving when you get angry with someone. So basically, you're living in an illusion, which is an addiction. So you're trying to do something in order to satisfy yourself, in order to make yourself feel good. Because if the person were to listen to what you were saying, then you would feel great about yourself, right? And then you can say, I helped this person in their lives, right? But if they don't do what you are suggesting, then the anger comes in and you're no longer living in a state where you're happy and the other person isn't going to be happy either, because that emotion of anger is going to be projected towards them. So that's an addiction, meaning you're using other people in order to satisfy yourself. And you need this in order to feel good about yourself, which is, I'm not going to say this is why everybody gets into this field, but on some level, there is a selfishness that is attached to this. And I personally see it every day, every single day. It's like you're going to school to do work to help people, right? Because you're claiming that I want to help others. I want to help others with their lives. I want to help someone improve their lives. But when you're yelling at them, when you're angry with them, that's not loving. But the only reason why that is because they're not doing what you want them to do. And that's not loving at all. That's not a natural love at all. That's an addiction. And you're trying to get your addiction met. Or you're trying to get your addictions met. And when that doesn't happen, you get angry. Which stems back or goes all the way back to your childhood. But we live in our addictions. We don't really live. They're codependent addictions is what they are. Is you need them in order to live this illusion of happiness. But that's not really true happiness, because if those addictions aren't met, then you're not happy. So if you are helping someone and you want something in return, then that's not a natural love path. That is you trying to have an addiction met. Which is kind of what I touched on yesterday when I was mentioning how my mother goes, or she used to, she's passed now, but how she used to go above and beyond to do everything for everybody. Well, she was trying to get her addiction met. And in return, that would be the praise, right? Oh, Anita is this, Anita is that, she's, so loving, so caring, da-da-da-da. This is the love, because I had mentioned that my mother didn't have self-love, and the reason why she didn't have self-love is because she didn't have love growing up. So she had a lot of resistance growing up. She had it from her family, and then she had it from, I know she had it from her husband and the family members of her first husband. So they didn't like, this is so funny. Oh my gosh, like when I look at my life and then I look at her life, I'm like, well, now I know where I got all this stuff from, because I was too young to really generate any of this or attract, for me to have done something and attract all of these different events that took place within my life. So when I look at her life and I look at mine now, I understand where they came from. But like I said, her family basically pushed her away because she liked she liked a black man, right? And then when she married the black man, his family didn't like Mexicans. So, which is why I don't speak Spanish. So, because I'm mixed with black and Mexican, but I don't speak Spanish. My sister doesn't speak Spanish. My brother don't speak Spanish. None of us speak Spanish. And so the whole thing was like when my mother, which is interesting because my mother's first language was Spanish. She didn't know any English. So she learned English is her second language. So there really it doesn't make any sense for us not to speak Spanish, but when you know the story, then you understand. So I think it was the sisters, must have been, the sisters of her first husband didn't like the fact that my mother spoke Spanish. And so since they had a dislike or a hatred for Mexicans or Latinos in general, they told her, don't speak that stuff, or I can't remember what my mother said. Don't speak that stuff around my niece and nephew. And so my mother didn't speak it. She didn't speak it. But one has to understand that my mother was like very young, and so she didn't have support of any family. So it was almost like she couldn't really raise us the way she wanted to, because she didn't feel that she had the power or the authority to do that, because she was so young and the others were older. So it's like it's almost like you're not going to, if this is the only people that are accepting of you and there are conditions, then you're going to meet those conditions in order to have some type of acceptance. And so that's what was happening with my mother, which is why we don't speak Spanish at all. So going back to how she used to do things for others in order to get that praise in return, she had to do that in order to have some type of love or feel that she was loved. So she was creating her own illusion or meeting her own addiction through her action by doing things for other people and not for herself. Because she wasn't going to do something for herself and say, oh, that's so sweet, Anita. She wasn't going to do that to herself. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. So she's going to do, or we're all going to do things that make sense. So when we're meeting addictions like this, we're not loving ourselves and we're not loving the other person. We're simply being selfish in these addictions. So, I'm not late. I hope I'm on time today. So yeah, that's the difference between and so the divine love path. Well, oh my gosh, the divine love path is much more. That's very difficult. And the divine love honors the soul at every level, every single level. There's love and compassion. There's no judgment. And you're not going to do something to take away from anyone else. And for instance, as it's written in the Bible, the last words of Jesus was basically, forgive them for they know not what they do. So even though they were murdering him, come on, what are you waiting for? Oh my God, your car's too low. So basically, when he was saying forgive them for they know not what they do, he had compassion for the people who were doing what they were doing to him. And so there wasn't any anger there at all. At all. And that's when you're living more in a divine love, where you don't have any judgment. You don't really, it's not that you don't care for yourself, but you're not willing to hate someone else because they're hating you. And most of us are not there. We're not there to, what? Oh my gosh. What a way to start a Friday. So if you are attempting to live in divine love, it's going to be very difficult, especially if you have a lot of unloving things within your soul. So if your soul condition is not of love for the most part, and there's a lot of unloving things, then it's going to be very difficult to even attempt to live in a state of divine love or be in alignment with the divine love. Natural love would be much easier to do, but it's the most painful to do. The thing is, once you reach divine love, you don't have any pain. there's not any pain there, because there's nothing within you to attract pain. You have a complete understanding of the soul and the laws that are involved, and you understand the system. You understand God's system. So if you don't understand God's system, then the closest you can get is the natural love path. So if you're on the natural love path, then like I said, it's going to be very painful. But the reason you're being faced with your emotions, everything that's within you, you're experiencing the pain. You're allowing it to flow. And it's painful. It's painful, which is, like I've been talking about, when you go back to your childhood and you revisit the times that you felt pain, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And so that's when you're moving out of your addictions and moving more into alignment with the natural love path. But you have to work through that stuff in order to get to the divine love path. But divine love path, that is, it's difficult to do, especially if you're not there and you're attempting to go there. It's going to be very difficult, because it doesn't jive with the way we as human beings understand things to be. Like I said with the like yesterday when I mentioned in the video, if someone wants to commit suicide, the natural reaction is to stop them from doing it. That's the natural reaction. And even if it's not the natural reaction, that's the conclusion that you're going to come up with, because you're not going to want to feel, either you're not going to want to feel the pain of someone taking their life. You're not going to want to feel the pain of not doing something, because that's the biggest issue, is I could have done something. Am I responsible? The guilt, the shame for not saying something, because that's how we're taught. But if you're on the divine love path, you would honor that person, because that person has free will. And this is what I'm talking about. It's so difficult to even comprehend the divine love path, because it's not the easiest thing to do, especially if it's not within you. So you can't do something that's not within you. It's impossible. It has to be within you in order for it to take place. So that's why, there's no way you can just say, oh, I'm going to be on the divine love path. But good luck with that one, because good luck with that one, because I know what it is. Like, I know what the difference is. But for me to even go there and try to live through that, I don't think I could. I really don't. Like, I wouldn't want to stand by and watch someone take their life. That would bother me. So that means that I can't even live or be in alignment with the divine love, because I can't do that. My soul isn't there yet. There's too many emotional injuries and too many too much conditioning that has taken place, and I have to get rid of that stuff. It's just like the whole religion thing. Like, I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, but I grew up in a family that was Jehovah's Witness and Baptist, so I got both of those. And so when I started learning about metaphysics and things like that, and people channeling, it was the most difficult thing for me to do. Like, it was very difficult for me to, and this is going to cut off. I didn't know I didn't delete videos. It's gonna cut off pretty soon. So let me do this. Hold on. Like I said, what was I saying? I crack myself up when I do that. All right. So I was saying, it was very difficult to get rid of those beliefs that were instilled in me, because I was terrified. I remember the first time. The first time that I heard, okay, so I was listening to Abraham Hicks, right? I don't know, I just came across Abraham Hicks, and I didn't know what it was, but it was like the videos that I was listening to, they didn't have like a person. It was just like a stationary picture, and it was just audio. So I was listening to it, and I was like, this makes so much sense. This makes so much sense. And this is it just made sense, and it was like positive, and it was helping me understand some things, helping me understand the law of attraction and how things work from a different perspective, from a non-physical perspective. So I was listening to videos, and then all of a sudden, I came across one, and it had a lady on it, and I was like, is Abraham? I was like, and then I thought, so it was a lady talking, right? The same voice that I had been listening to all this time, with the stationary pictures. And I was like, Abraham? I was like, who would name their daughter Abraham, right? So I was like, Abraham's a man's name. And so I had to make sense. Like, my brain kicked in. It was like, why would someone name their daughter Abraham? So the conclusion that I came to was, oh, it must have been like a grandfather or a great-grandfather who meant a lot to someone, and they named their child Abraham, whether it was going to be a boy or girl. Now, I came up with this stuff on my own. I was wrong. And this is what I'm talking about. When you don't have information, your brain will try to make sense of it. And whatever you come up with will be the answer to that, until something else comes in and replaces that information, if you allow it to be placed or replaced. So I was listening, Abraham was talking, it was this woman, and I listened to the videos, and there wasn't a whole bunch of them where she was actually on camera, but I managed to find the ones where she was on camera. Oh, Jesus, come on now. So, no wonder I'm running out of gas fast. The air conditioner was on. Anyway, so I was listening to her, and then there's this one video where it started from the very beginning, just all the way from the beginning of the whole like conference. It was like 2 hours and something. And she came out, and she was talking and everything, and I thought it was just going to be like a regular presentation, you know, regular conference type thing. And then she started like moving her head. She closed her eyes and she started moving her head and doing all these and breathing kind of hard. And then her voice was different. Like in the beginning, her voice was different. Then all of a sudden, it changed. I was like, "What is going on here?" And I said, "Oh shoot!" I remember like the first time I realized what it was. At that moment, I knew that an entity had come through and was talking to this woman. And talking through this woman, and I was like, I was like, this is demonic. This is, you know, the devil is, you know, spirits are taking over her. And so my subconscious, everything that my subconscious had learned was applying all of it to what was taking place, right? So, and I had turned it off. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I hope I didn't let spirits in my house. Like, I was really thinking like this because this is how I was taught. So, and I remember my sister wouldn't watch scary movies or anything demonic. And I remember in my house, like with living with my mom, that stuff wasn't an issue. But my sister, she's like diehard, hardcore Jehovah's Witness. So she's like, I'm not letting that stuff in my house. I don't want any spirits coming to my house. So that also was my understanding that I had got from her. So when I was, I'm going to have to do this video later on my way home to finish exactly what I wanted to talk about. Because, but I think this is really important because it really shows how much I've changed, how much I've transformed, and what I had to do in order to overcome the fears that I had. So the fear that I had of spirits and demons and Satan and the devil and all that stuff, like I said, I had turned it off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't let something in my house, because I didn't understand spirits because I've never dealt with them. It's something that I've tried my best to stay away from or learn about, period. So I was sitting there, I remember sitting there on the couch, and I was thinking, you know, about what I just said about, you know, demons coming in and things like that. But then something also came into my mind, which was, but everything that Abraham was saying was true. Everything that Abraham was saying was true. There wasn't anything that I disagreed with. And so I had to realize this, and this was a battle that went on in my mind for a while. And I didn't turn Abraham back on for, I want to say a few days, maybe a week, 2, 3. I don't know how long it was, but I know it was a while. And then I went back to it because I had this battle in my mind I had to work out. I just had to work it out. And so I finally did. And I finally came to the conclusion, like, why would I be fearful of something if I've already experienced it? Being loving and caring. There wasn't anything harmful that was being told to me by Abraham that I was listening to. And so I had to think in my mind, why am I taking something, like I'm taking a belief that I have not experienced, just things that were told to me, but I actually experienced something, so why am I going to take someone else's belief and use it to trump what I have just experienced? I had to trust what I've experienced. It didn't make sense for me to discount what I had experienced. And so that's what happens is when we experience things, now we have to use a discernment. But if we don't ever experience things, we can't use discernment. So all of those years, I had believed the teachings from my mother and my sister and whomever were around at the time to teach me religious things or about God or Satan and spirits. They were teaching me from a place of ignorance. They didn't know anything about spirits. So why would I take their word over my own experience? It just didn't make any sense to me. And that is what I know a lot of people are dealing with at the moment, especially Christians, especially when people who have a religion and they're so into the religion, or they're so tied to it, when they hear things that I speak about in terms of spirit and things like that, they shut it out. And I understand why they shut it out, because they were taught that that stuff is harmful to you, it's demonic, and you don't want to be possessed or anything like that. But the thing is, I had never witnessed anybody dealing with spirits or anything else, so I didn't have any tangible physical evidence at all. There was no experience within my being that could even make that determination. So how could I? I had to make the decision of going with what I had experienced over what someone has taught me, and knowing that they didn't experience it themselves. So anyway, that's what there is a second part. I will continue the rest of it on my way home because I'm at work already. So yeah, I'll pick up when I come back, and then I'll say my goodbyes. All right. Hello. I'm back. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I was wondering, I wonder if I should, you know what? Dang it. Okay, I'll get off here. Okay, so I wanted to continue from where I left off, and if I'm not mistaken, I left off talking about Abraham, and then it was spirits and how I should, or how the transformation that I had to make within myself in order to even be where I am today. Which leads me into the second part of what I wanted to talk about, which is the spirit world. Ta-da! The spirit world. And hopefully I can find a gas station on the way, because I am on E. So, spirits. How is it in the spirit world? Well, you're going to get a lot of different explanations from depending on the source that you're listening to. So I'm sure you have if you know anything about dimensions and the spirit world and things like that, then you've probably heard some things and you have your own definition as to what you think it is, and how it's going to be. I've even received a lot of different information about it. So anyway, there are this is actually a difficult subject to talk about, because there's so many different opinions as to what happens on the other side of the veil, and depending on who you're listening to, will determine what you get from it. So I will continue from all the other things that I've been talking about, which is our soul and our soul condition. These things are things that we know about. These things are things that we live with every day. What is in our soul is causing every experience that we have. So we have a foundation already as to how we are living life here, but we also have to understand that we're souls living life here. And there really isn't much difference in the spirit world than it is here, having an experience in a physical body, because the soul is still present. The spirit body is still present, just as it's going to be present when we leave the physical body. So, with that being said, I will say when we pass on, like when we die and we leave this, or what we call dying here on earth, and we leave the physical body, we go on to the spirit world. But what determines where we go in the spirit world is based on our soul condition. Sorry, that was my car. I used to buy raw milk in this area, so the GPS in my car lets me know that I'm near. That's funny. So oh, there's a train. I was thinking about getting a train system from my house, so now I know where it is, because I have some questions about that. Anyway, so where we end up in the spirit world is based on our soul condition. It's just like the life that we have here is based on our soul condition. So if you have, and this has nothing to do with money, it has nothing to do with finances, it has nothing to do with that, because we judge whether, well, society judges, whether or not you're having a good life based on the money, the house, and the car you have. But that's not really it, because people have a lot of money, have all kinds of cars and big houses, and they're absolutely miserable. And the reason why they're miserable is because of their soul condition, the condition of their soul. So if someone is rich on this planet, that just simply means that they don't have any emotional injury towards money. That's all that means. But everything else could be falling apart in their life. Like they could have a job that pays a lot of money, they can have a big house, car, and all this stuff. But if their relationship with other people is bad, if they take advantage of other people, if they do all of these things, then that means that they have issues within their soul. So their soul condition is damaged. So, or the condition of their soul is it needs work. It needs healing, I should say. So, let me turn this down. I don't know if you guys can pick up the air on it, but so if our soul condition is in a good condition, it's in a good state, there's not much emotional injury, not a lot of negativity within our soul, then we will have a joyful, happy life. And there are some people who have this, and they have very few emotional injuries. So, and that will determine the type of experience that we have here on the planet. But this will also determine where you're able to go in the different spheres or dimensions when you pass on. Lady, I don't know, man, lady, whatever you are, get off your damn phone. So, wherever you are in your soul condition, like whatever you're experiencing here, the anger that you have here, you're still going to have it when you cross over. And look, I'm a hypnotist and I've done past life regressions, and people have visited different places or shown different places. Like when you're doing a past life regression, you're looking at a past life. And a past life meaning a past physical life. And people have also had past lives where they were not in a physical body, but they were incarnate, just not in a physical body. So it's different when you pass on and you're not incarnated in something. You're just back into the spirit world. Well, like I said, depending on what your soul condition is will determine where you end up in the spirit world. And it's not all great. It's not all great. And I know there's a lot of people who believe, especially people who belong to religions, they believe that, as long as you read the Bible and go to church and do all these things, that when you die, you'll be in heaven. Well, a lot of people, and I'm not even going there with heaven, but this is their belief. So they think basically they're going to be in a wonderful place with God when they die. And that's not really how it works. And I'm not saying that if this is your belief, you should stop believing. Hey, you don't have to believe anything I say. But whatever you are experiencing here, you will be experiencing it there. And it will be more intensified than it would be here. Because our senses, our feelings are not as strong as it will be when you're just with your spirit body. The physical body doesn't have the capability to sense things like the spirit body does. So it will be intensified. And there are many levels, like if you want to say within the first dimension or the first sphere of the non-physical when you pass over, there are many, many levels. There are many levels within the first sphere alone, which will determine who you're placed with. Because wherever you're placed, I shouldn't say wherever you're placed, but wherever you're able to go, you can't go above that level. So let's say that you were let's just say within the first sphere there are 20 levels, right? 20 levels within the first sphere. And you have loved ones and friends and family and all this stuff, partner, whatever. And their soul condition is different than your soul condition. So let's say that their soul condition is better than your soul condition. And so your soul condition only allows you to, let's say you end up at the 5th level within that first sphere. And your partner ended up in the 15th level of that first sphere. You will not be able to get to them because you're not allowed to go there until you heal your emotional injuries, which is basically the love that you have within your soul. The love is the key, which goes right back to Jesus and why he was teaching love. That's all Jesus was talking about, was love. Love. Have love in your heart. This is what he was talking about. This is the way. Love is the way. Love is the key to move up, to ascend into these different dimensions or different areas within the spirit world, both in here on the planet and in the non-physical. That's what it is. So if you have a lot of anger and hatred and resentment and judgment, if that's what you have here on this earth and you can't get over some stuff, it's going to only allow you to be in a certain area. And you can't go above that. And it is called the hells. It's called the hells. And they have different levels of the hells. This is called the hells. The way it has come out into our understanding here in physical form is called hell. It's just hell. You're going to hell. But these are basically people who have these emotional injuries. And they are amongst only those who also vibrate or have those emotional injuries, and you have to work through that. And here's the thing, if you think you're stubborn now, you're still going to be stubborn when you cross over. You are still you. It's not like you die and you automatically go to these, better place. Oh my gosh. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. Gosh, it doesn't work that way. I mean, and there's nothing I can do to prove this to you, other than look at your life here. Look at how things work here. Negative people are generally among negative people. That's just the way it happens. And so you have to understand, like right now, even on this planet, like in this country, in the city, in the state, in this, where I am in California, there are certain areas where the energy is different. And then you have areas where the energy is not so great. And so when someone has a very high energy and they go to an area that has a very low vibration, then it's felt. And it's like, oh my gosh, you just want to get out of it. And there's some people who vibrate at a very low level, and they try to go into neighborhoods and places where it's a high frequency, and all kinds of stuff will happen. I mean, because they can't be in that area. It's just certain things that happen that prevent them from being in that area. And this is called life. Like, people are poor and they can't make it in areas where, if they have resistance to wealth, then there's no way they can live in an area where there is wealth. Like, the universe and the energies working all together will prevent that from happening. It cannot happen. And if you steal money, then that means something's going to happen and you're going to be taken out of that area anyway. So there are certain things that are certain clues and proof that this is what happens on the other side of the world. But you have to be open to seeing this stuff. If you're closed off about it and you just think that, this is just a narrative and, this is what Zachary's talking about, and you don't apply it to yourself, then you won't understand it. But there's some people who are hearing this and they're like, I can see it. And if you can see it, then you know that there's some changes that you need to make. Not needing to make so you don't end up in the hells, but make them because now you understand that there's something bigger and greater going on, and that you're going to be a part of it no matter what. We're all going to be subjected to this system that we're all governed by. Like right now on this planet, we're governed by different laws. Well, there's other laws in the non-physical world that we're governed by. So that's what I'm going to talk about, the spirits. And basically, when you pass over, you're going to go to wherever your soul condition will allow you to go. So you allow yourself or disallow yourself to move about in different places within the non-physical. So for those of you who think, you can be, a bad person, and then when you die, everything's going to be okay just because you went to church and said a couple of prayers. Don't work like that. It's what's in your soul. Everything is contained in your soul. It doesn't matter what you do. If it's not in alignment with what you have in your soul, it won't matter. It won't matter. That's why your thoughts, what you hold inside, is what dictates everything. That's what the universe responds to. You can tell someone I love you and hate their guts just because you want to come across as being nice and not having any hate. But if you're hating them inside, that's what really counts. And most people think, well, if I be nice to people even though I can't stand them, then it'd be okay. There are some people who are racist and they're nice to minorities. LA Solar, that's where I got my solar from, I think. Who are nice to minorities, but they can't stand them. And why don't they show that hate? Why don't they express that? Well, because they don't want to be judged. So they're holding in the hate, just so people don't think differently of them. But they're not understanding that hate that they're holding inside is what's going to determine where they end up when they die. So get rid of the hate, get rid of the judgment, get rid of the anger. If it's difficult for you to do, then do some research and try to find tools to help you alleviate that. I've mentioned some things about where this stuff is coming from. It's coming from your childhood, and you have to address it. You don't have to live there anymore. You don't have to live there anymore. Trust me. I was angry. I used to be an angry person. Not like a mean person, but I was angry. Like, I didn't express a great deal of anger, but I held it inside. I sure did. I hated people. I hated people's guts because of the way they treated me. So just because, I come across as a nice person, that doesn't mean that I never had a dark side. It doesn't mean that. I've changed a great deal, but once I realized what was happening or what I was, that's when I decided to change. I didn't change because I was afraid of ending up somewhere, hell or anything like that. That's not why I changed. So I changed because I wanted to be better than what I noticed I was at the time. So there are people out there who are feared into acting or doing certain things. That means that it's not your true intent. It's not your true desire to be better. You're making changes because you feel forced. Therefore, that which dwells within you is still there. It doesn't matter the changes you're making. If you're not true in your intent, if you're not honest in your intent, then it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. Because anytime anybody's forced to do something, that means that it's almost like your free will is being taken away. And you're saying, well, I'm scared, I don't want to go to hell, so I'm going to do this. It's like someone forcing you to do something you really wouldn't do on your own. So I have a friend who is really sick and tired of having negative experiences, or what they would consider negative experiences, struggles and whatnot. And we were talking, there's a lot of, information going back and forth about how to do this and how to do that. But where it's coming from, the reason why it's being done is completely different. And this person is having a difficult time trying to understand, why does this keep happening, or how does it work? And it's a very technical thing, because the change is stemming from not wanting to experience the pain anymore, because now the person understands that everything that is happening is because of what's going on within them. Like there's something within them that's causing the effect to happen, and the effect being the uncomfortable situations that keep coming about. And the thing is, these things that keep coming about are they're repeating itself over and over and over and over again. Same situation, different places, different people. So that tells that person that this is something that is within you. So when I did my transformation, there wasn't anything like, I wasn't like, I need things to change in my life. Like I wasn't saying I'm tired of having bad experiences, so I want to change something so I don't have bad experiences anymore. So it's almost like that is equivalent to saying, well, it's almost like saying I want to go somewhere, but I've done something to someone, and the only way to go is if I apologize. So I'll apologize so that it goes away, so that I can get what I want. That is what that is equivalent to. And so that's why this person is going to have a hard time. Get off of your phone. Going to have a hard time figuring this out because of the reason why. And here's the thing. When we're dealing with the soul, it is your responsibility. You have to have true intent. Like a true, honest intent. Like, I want to improve myself. I want to be different than what I am right now. Simply because I want to be better. I want to be more in alignment with love. I want to be more in alignment with things that are positive. For myself, because I want to heal my soul. That is completely different than saying, well, I'll say sorry so I can go on the trip. Or I'll say sorry so I can get the deal. I'll say sorry so that these people won't hate me anymore. It's like a means to an end. And you can only get so far with that. I'm not saying that you can't get anywhere with that. You can only get so far with that. The thing is, if you're not, you can pretend to do these things or take these actions or whatnot, But if it's not truly resolved, it's going to come back. And how you will know this is law of attraction will deliver another message, and it's going to be the same song. Same song. So, when I started doing mine, like I told you, I was a very angry person. And the reason why I was so angry is because I was responding to how people were treating me. And when I started doing this transformation and learning about myself and learning about all these different things and how it all works and the laws and all these different things, I did not do it because I wanted that person to stop treating me badly. I was just working on myself. I just noticed something within myself that I wanted to change. And before I knew it, the people that were like always at me, they disappeared. They were gone. Adios. They were gone. And it happened like without me really noticing it. Like things were taking place and the people in my life, they just vanished. I didn't go anywhere. I'm in the same place. And they vanished. Nothing happened in terms of like a fallout or anything. I just transformed myself. I became different. That which resided in me changed. The judgment, the hate, I just let it go, and I was just doing me. And then when I no longer had that focus, that anger, that judgment, then things just happened. And before you know it, these people were gone. Completely gone. And there was peace. There was peace in my life, and it was that simple. But I didn't do it to get rid of that pain. I just simply wanted to change myself because I noticed that I was a certain way, and I didn't want to be that way. So when you're doing this transition, be mindful of the reason why you're doing it. Is it authentic or inauthentic? Are you trying to change yourself? Because everything is about you. You have everything to do with you. That's it. That's it. You're responsible for you and your soul's condition. And so that's the only thing that's important is your soul's condition. And as you try to better yourself and improve yourself and get away from the negativity, not negative people. You're not trying to get rid of negative people. That takes care of itself. This is what I'm trying to say in the long diatribe that I'm doing. Once you change. All right, sorry about that. It looks like my phone overheated. It was like 104 degrees, so I had to cool it down. So, oh my God, that's the last thing you people need is for me to lose my train of thought. Because I do it so many times. Jeez. So I was talking about, Lord have mercy. Oh God. Anyway, I think I said enough. I think you understood what I was trying to convey. So yeah. Anyway, have a wonderful Friday, and I will probably talk to you guys Monday. I have a full weekend this weekend, so I probably won't be able to make any videos. But know that you are loved, and until next time, have a great weekend, everyone. Bye now.